Hey, how you doing, everyone? I am Bastial, and I wanted to talk about the Chick-fil-A homosexual scandal that's been raging through the United States for the last few days. The controversy rather, has arisen out of the owners of the Chick-fil-A franchise, who who very much oppose gay marriage, and a particular councilwoman in New York had raised objections against a Chick-fil-A franchise being opened in the city. And likewise, the mayors of Boston and Chicago have come out and denounced the owners' views of gay marriage as, sort of old and, outdated, outlandish even, to which I would most pretty much entirely agree. And the people have responded by showing up into Chick-fil-A en masse and showing their support for Chick-fil-A, and I can only hope it's for the right reasons and not the wrong reasons. But there's problems on both sides of this argument. The first and most obvious is that the argument that the owners of Chick-fil-A use for not allowing gay marriage is that there's no biblical premise for allowing two people of the same sex to get married. And I think that that premise is seriously and dangerously flawed from a legal standpoint. The premise for our legal decisions derives from the Constitution of what is permitted and what is not permitted. Does not derive from biblical interpretation, or it doesn't derive from exegesis. It is semi-theological, or no, not theological. It's semi-theocratic. There's no priests running the country, but essentially there's a set of religious dogmas that would be running the country if that premise of the biblical paradigm were to be accepted. To expand on that to these conservatives who make these outlandish claims about the biblical paradigm of marriage, it's sort of an arbitrary choice that you've made of using this particular law from either the New Testament or the Old Testament, coming from the letters of St. Paul, coming from the Gospel, coming from the Torah. Deuteronomy is often quoted, and that is a serious flaw in your logic. That the Bible should be used for legal considerations, because if we were to use any amount of the Bible, all sorts of civil liberties and civil rights would be violated. We wouldn't be allowed to have tattoos. I have a tattoo. I would imagine that'd be a big no-no for me. Wouldn't be allowed to get piercings. We weren't allowed to mix fabric and clothes. Just all sorts of random, arbitrary things that would end up like hurting the economy. Like, you wouldn't be allowed to rotate fields. Like just like strange things that have nothing to do with what's going on now. And I also view the prohibition against gay marriage is like, well, it's got nothing to do with us. The state isn't your church. The state isn't your religious community. That's not what the state is. That's not the function of the state. You're advocating something that our founding fathers fought against, the established religion. This isn't the Church of England underneath the English monarch. We don't have an established religion. So to assert the religious claim is irrelevant. Like, who cares if that's what the Bible says? It's not something that we go to. On the other hand, now that I've bashed the conservative misuse of power, let's switch over to the liberal misuse of power, because this is all this is. This is just two groups of people who have some ideological differences, who both want to use powers from the government to subdue one another. and it's just tyranny. Just who's going to be the biggest tyrant over whom. But in terms of the left wing, if you don't hold to certain political or philosophical beliefs, you're going to be marginalized, you're going to be castigated, you're going to be economically disadvantaged. We're going to put prohibitions on you because of the things that you think and the way that you believe. And you have to be restricted because you believe those things. And because, whatever excuse they give that's out of tenor with what the majority of people really think, that's just the 51% oppressing the 49%. There's strong prohibitions against that in our legal history, that we shouldn't have majorities oppressing minorities. And that's really what this conservative movement against gay marriage has become over time. The recent polls, national polls, say that a small majority, but it's 51% of Americans support gay marriage. I'm one of those people. I believe that voluntary associations between individuals, same sex, different sexes, races, religions, even between multiple people, any of those associations which are voluntary. I mean, this just has nothing to do with the state, period. Marriage or no marriage really has very, very little to do with the state and what is or what is not allowed. I don't see how that is the state's business, how that's the federal government's business of who can do what. And for some Republicans, oh my gosh, for some Republicans to want to add a constitutional amendment saying that it's not permitted for homosexuals to get married, you people are tyrants, man. You people are fascists of the worst kind. I mean, that kind of totalitarianism is functionally almost Soviet or Nazi-esque. It's or both. I mean, it's just so like, oh my God, like you just want to propose this sweeping thing that would control the most harmless aspect of two people's lives, like just two people who've made a decision and want to be together and have made that choice voluntarily and freely by themselves, that they should be treated as enemies of the state. Enemies of the state. That's what it is. That's what it amounts to by passing a constitutional amendment about it. I mean, that's just wow. To the voters who voted these people in and who were considering doing so again, what the hell? Like, what's going on? Do we need to sit down and talk about our republic again? I think maybe this is a good time. It's probably always a good time, but now is as good a time as any for everyone in America to sit down, to really sit down, study their American history again, study the political philosophies around the establishment of this country, and really, really consider the extent to which these prohibitions that you want to place on society, to which extent are they valid at all? Speaking as a libertarian, of course, this is something that we all encourage people to do, is to take a step back and reevaluate like the consequences that these new laws and these new taxes, the consequences that these pose in society. And every year the government gets more and more and more power. The Patriot Act, Obama reopened Gitmo, all these various wars that are just that are declared as police actions, so the president can get away with declaring war on a country. And just sit back and think about the extent of all the logical extent of all these things. To what point the premise of these ideas can be driven to, and their logical conclusions. And I think that they will find that situations like this, where on the left you have the tyrants who don't want people disagreeing with them, so they're going to use the establishment to harm them. And then on the other hand, you have these social conservatives who try to pass laws that restrict gay marriage, and even that kind of that smaller element within that conservative fringe who want to make it a constitutional amendment that homosexuals should not be allowed to get married because it's abhorrent to their particular doctrine of morality. Now, I am a believer. I believe in God. I don't really belong to a religious organization though, and I'm not certain what that even means when I say I believe in God. I mean, saying I believe in God isn't really doesn't really put me in the religious camp, but because I'm very much against them in this case, very much against them. Actually, as in many cases, but this is a matter of liberty. This is a matter of liberty for people to believe what it is they want, whatever it is they want to believe, no matter how outlandish and old school. And it is also about the liberty to build firms and build businesses and build economic productivity without some ideological paradigm have to be imposed on everyone. Like, in order for you to operate in this economy, you have to conform to some certain intellectual standards. I think that's a bad philosophy. I think that is a quick way to brainwash the masses, like such as government monopoly of the school system. But I'm definitely for Chick-fil-A building wherever it is they want to build. The outlandish beliefs aside, that really has nothing to do with anything, and you'd become tyrants to try to stop them. And I think that gay people should be allowed to be married, because it's their right to associate with one another in whichever way they please, and it has nothing to do with you. The Bible is not a legal document in this country. We don't use it. We don't refer to it when we make decisions regarding the law, and especially voluntary association between individuals, because that's just totalitarianism. Both of them kind of, I use those words kind of liberally and loosely, but they have a strong resemblance of fascism and totalitarianism, and would be definitely elements of a totalitarian or fascist country. But with that said, I don't think that much will come of this. I don't think that those who are trying to bar Chick-fil-A will have much of a legal standing. Even the ACLU is like, yeah, they're pretty. Their beliefs are outdated in terms of gay marriage, but the premise for blocking them from building a firm in your, or a franchise in your city, is dubious. Like, you can't just not allow them because you don't like what they think. And that's good. I don't think that much will come of this. I think that this is just something that these two things were kind of bound. These two groups of people were bound to clash. Chick-fil-A is a sort of nationally popular food chain, and also they happen to be managed by conservatives, so it was bound to get some interference from liberals who like the concept of people being able to marry whoever they please. But the methods of liberals, man, they always have such good intentions, but man, their solutions are always so fucking awful. I'm sorry, are always so very awful. And I'm glad that not much will probably come of this. Really, what we're seeing in the long term is that gay marriage is going to be legalized in a great many places. The more conservative states will probably hold out for maybe a couple decades, but in time, like, it's just going to be, look, if you don't want gay people in your private community organizations, in your churches, and you know, whatever it is, whatever you're doing, that sucks. But I guess that's your choice if you want to have that sort of private an organization. But that has nothing to do with the rest of us. You can't put that on all of society. This is all about the freedom of association. And gay people have, and a man and a man have just as much of a right to associate with one another in whichever way they please as a man and a woman do. And that's the basis of the law in this country. Or at least it ought to be. So that's the end of my shtick. That's my 2 cents. I think it's kind of a sad, sad little drama that's playing out. The sort of solutions that people have to things is like, oh, we need to have government marginalize this particular group of people. And it's like, oh my gosh, it just never ends, huh? So that's my opinion. I don't know what you all think, but feel free to leave a comment below. And as always, keep fighting the good fight.